So today I threw on some grubbies because I wanted to show you some of the things that go on in the back of the shop. Like in another video, I'll probably show you some things actually in the back of the shop at 10 Violin Shop, but I just wanted to use a sample violin and show you some of the things that get fixed there as soon as I fix my hair. Here's a good violin. Well, it's not that good, but it's good for sample. I talked about in another video the tension of the strings and the forces involved in keeping a violin intact. Well, this violin let go. It just broke. Eric, the luthier, keeps emphasizing that this is 500-year-old technology. There's very special glue that's weaker than the wood, so that it just breaks apart at the seams and it doesn't break the wood. And this is one thing that can go wrong. The neck can just let go. And this one was even strengthened. See, there's a little piece of wood that's been drilled into the button, you call it. That's a button. And even that broke, probably because I didn't do it right. And the violin broke in half. But putting one of these back on and getting all the angles right, getting the thing back together the way it should be, that's what you pay a luthier for. Because if this angle is wrong, if it's up too high or down too low, well, it messes up everything about the way the instrument plays. So that's one of the things Eric fixes in the back. Some other things, of course, you can fix pegs. Sometimes the pegs just slip. They don't hold properly. That's how the instrument stays in tune. Sometimes you get a crack right here. This thing right here is called the saddle. You can get a crack in the front of your instrument, your violin, viola, cello, or bass. You get a crack right here. It'd be called a saddle crack. Or if it's over here, it might just be called a front crack. And depending on where it is, determines how difficult it is to fix, or even if it has to be fixed. If you just get a little crack right here, right close in by the saddle, there's a big block of wood underneath, and it might not be a problem, and the luthier can tell you all about that. Sometimes the instrument's cracked because the saddle was made just a little bit too wide for the notch that was cut in the front of the instrument for the saddle to fit into, and because saddles are made of ebony or something else, and fronts are often made of spruce, and they contract and expand at different rates, it can just crack as the spruce contracts a little bit and the ebony doesn't. The spruce will just crack. Or you can get a crack that runs right along the bass bar. In my violin, you can see it. There's a bar of wood that runs right down here. You get a crack that runs right along there, you're in trouble. That's a big problem. Or you can get one that's not on the bass bar, and it's not necessarily a terrible problem, but it's a big problem. You have to fix it. Let's see. You can get a back crack. You get a crack up the same. If you get some instruments, oh yeah, this one does too. See, there's a seam right up the middle. That seam can just let go. That's kind of a big repair. Now I had thought this had open seams, but it doesn't. Or maybe it did, and Eric closed them up. But sometimes these seams right here, it's just glue along a little narrow strip of wood. That can just break open. Or when a luthier is fixing a back crack or a saddle crack or front crack, you might have to cut one of those seams right open the instrument right up, glue it, put little cleats in. It's just a little square of wood along the crack. And I can show you some of those later, but that's what they do to repair an instrument. And when they get it all back together and get the neck on, if it had to come off, get everything together, put the strings on it and the bridge and the tailpiece and everything, it plays just like it did before. It'll sound just the same. If they've done their job right, that's what you pay a luthier for, instead of trying to do it yourself. They are fragile little bits of wood, but you gotta know what you're doing to put them back together. That's all I can tell you today.